to the American Idiots Podcast, the show where we take the hottest topics currently dividing our country and we debate them with our diverse group of hosts. So sit back and strap in, as for the next 2 hours we leave no story undebated and no politician will be spared. It's the American Idiot Podcast live on Podcast Network 49, and it begins right now. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into the American Idiots Podcast. I am Money Mike, joined here pretty quick by the Manny Hispanic. We got a lot to get to tonight. Tonight's format going to be a little bit different, obviously, with the breaking news this afternoon. Russia finally making a move. Things finally starting to go into play a little bit here with everything. So without wasting any time, I'll go ahead and bring on my co-host, the Manny Hispanic. Manny, how you doing today?
We are living in a world of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I felt this was very appropriate.
It just hit the fan.
It is about to hit the fan.
Well, let's go ahead and not waste any time on this, Manny. Let's go ahead and get into it. Russia invades Ukraine today. And we have a story here from CBS News. Again, y'all, the format's going to be a little bit different. We're going to spend as much time as we need to on this. Obviously, this thing's still developing quite a bit, but let's go ahead and take a look at this clip and get everybody up to speed.
Welcome back to CBS News. Our top story this hour is the breaking news coming out of Moscow.
That's right. Russian President Vladimir Putin addressing his nation and recognizing the independence of two territories in Ukraine controlled by Russian-backed separatists in the Donbas region.
Situation in Donbass is becoming critical. And today I'm addressing you directly, not only to talk about what's happening, but also to inform you about the decisions we're making, about possible steps in this regard. Once again, I would like to underscore that Ukraine is not just a neighboring country to us. It is an inherent part of our own history, culture, spiritual space. They are our comrades, relatives, not only colleagues, friends, but also our family.
Sean Sullivan is CBS News political contributor and White House reporter for The Washington Post, and he joins us now for more on this. Hi, Sean. So what is the biggest takeaway from this now that it appears that Putin has recognized Donbass's independence?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to see this as an escalation now in these very, very sensitive days and really in sort of an hour-by-hour situation now where across the globe people are trying to watch what happens here. But the fact that the Russian government and President Putin are saying, look, we're going to recognize these breakaway regions, again, I think is going to be seen by a lot of people across the global stage as a potential escalation and something that might, that he might use as reason, as justification to move into those regions and to move forward with an invasion in Ukraine, which, of course, is something that Western leaders have been warning about daily, virtually hourly, the last week or so. And so now the question is, how do we see the United States respond? How will President Biden respond? How will other people who have been involved in these negotiations respond? Because it looked, for a moment yesterday, at least, like there might be a potential opening for a diplomatic solution here. We saw the United States late last night and the Biden administration agree, at least in principle, to having a meeting with President Putin if Russia did not go ahead with an invasion into Ukraine. So now the question is what the future of that will be in the coming days. It's really a fast-moving situation. And now I think, we turn next to how the Biden administration and other Western allies are going to respond to this.
Especially, Sean, because leading up to this, the White House, the administration, NATO has all made it clear that should President Putin take any action inside Ukraine, it would be seen as a provocation. And there also is, in the intelligence gathering of this, understanding that President Putin is really the one calling the shots. Our own Margaret Brennan is sharing some notes internally here, highlighting that it was just yesterday that Russia's ambassador made a point on Face the Nation to say that Donetsk and Luhansk were a part of Ukraine. So that was coming from Russia's ambassador as of Sunday. And here on Monday, you have President Putin effectively delegitimizing Ukraine as an independent state and going on to recognize Donbass's independence. What then, based on the signals that we've seen from the U.S. and European nations, is likely to happen next here? We know that sanctions have been a major threat. President Putin says that won't matter.
Yeah, we have seen the Biden administration continuously stress that if there is a further invasion, there are going to be severe economic sanctions. That is really the fundamental lever that they have been underscoring in these last few days, and really the main thing that they are going to try to do to deter the Russian government from moving ahead. And so we'll see now, will we get more specificity perhaps from the U.S. government about what the nature of these sanctions will be? There have been some calls for more specificity along those lines. President Biden has been clear that he's not going to put U.S. troops in Ukraine, but I think the question then becomes, what specific things will the U.S. do to potentially support Ukraine in the region, to support NATO allies from afar if this does go ahead? And then now also, what does Russia and what do Putin do? By recognizing these breakaway regions the way that they have, will they start to use that as justification or pretext to move troops in there, or to move equipment in there, or to work with the separatists there and say, look, they're welcoming us into this area? This is a situation that could escalate really, really quickly. Now, in the White House this weekend, we have not heard all that much from President Biden directly. We've seen written statements on his behalf from some of his aides. We haven't seen a big address or really a direct comment from him in person since Friday, when the president flatly declared that he had believed that President Putin was determined to invade Ukraine. And so will we see the president is another question. I tried to ask him a question on Saturday when he was out for lunch with family near the White House. He didn't respond to that. So what will we hear, and will we hear directly from President Biden this afternoon and evening is a big question right now.
And Sean, how has Ukraine responded to this? Do we know what President Zelensky's response has been?
Well, I think this is something that's going to be troubling to the Ukrainian government and to a lot of allies. But, it's a fast-moving situation, so we'll have to see exactly how they respond in the coming hours and days. But I think, across the global scene right now, I think a lot of Western allies are going to be looking at the United States, following their lead. What is the message going to be from the U.S. government? And I would note that throughout this process, it hasn't always been neat. There are a lot of countries that are allied with Ukraine and the United States and say, look, we don't want to see a further invasion. But there hasn't always been agreement about what the response should be. And we've seen some disagreement come up in the last couple of weeks. It's a complicated situation. You have a lot of countries in Europe that rely on Russia economically. So we'll have to see how this all shakes out.
All right. Sean, thank you so much. Sean Sullivan, thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we have this video, and thanks again to CBS News for that video. But what we're really looking at, Manny, and I want to bring up this map, if you can see, it's these two small areas right here on Ukraine's easternmost border with Russia that have, for the longest time, really been pro-Putin. They kind of have wanted to break off from the Ukraine. And now this morning with these actions, even undermining his ambassador to the U.S., who yesterday they said came on the Face the Nation show. And now today he comes out declaring that these two areas are free of Ukraine. Number one, what? He can't do that. correct? Like, let's start there. What exactly are we looking at
You're
here?
talking about someone who thinks all of the Ukraine is still Russia occupied territory. So, I mean, he can declare whatever he wants to declare. It is up to the Ukrainian people to fight for their freedoms.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Ukrainian president, as of 3 minutes ago, went on Ukrainian television. He said that we don't owe anything to anyone and we will not give away anything to anyone. This coming after the White House actually had, it broke within the last couple hours that the White House had not only evacuated all of our staff, the U.S. personnel that's over in the Ukraine, but also they were talking to Zelensky and said that, hey, you may want to make a move here. First things first, in this speech, he did say he was counting on the U.S. and other allies to keep, their word that they were going to back the Ukraine. What does that look like? Let's start with not what you want to see happen. What do you think this looks like?
All right. What I think this looks like is with it just slipped my mind. What's the country we just left?
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. The way we pulled out of Afghanistan and just left, tucked tail and ran pretty much. Everyone saw that.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have a lot of flex in trying to say, look how strong we are.
Very true.
So now Putin is doing this. How long is it going to take for China to put wheels in action?
Well, and that's a very good point.
Over there in Taiwan. Well, I mean, we can't just look at what's going on with the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
We got to think about all the things that will come after that. So now you have China. They're going to go ahead and invade Taiwan because the U.S. is going to be a non-factor. Then you have Korea, who has already aimed missiles at our direction and just went ahead and killed them while in the ocean or while over the ocean. So you have a whole bunch of things coming together. That is the scary part. That's why I think that the U.S. needs to show some force. Not because we necessarily have to bail out the Ukraine, but because if we let it go, the other nations that will start jumping on to create an axis against the United States, we've got to do something.
Well, and we talked about this right before, and I said this was really Russia pulling the U.S.'s punk card in essence. And I do believe that's what it is. You have Biden coming out constantly. He sends Kamala Harris out there to address people. Just an insane foreign policy from this administration. I want to start there, too. The foreign policy is just a complete and utter shambles of this administration. It's like this administration has never heard the term foreign policy. Absolutely asinine. But, you bring up a very good point. A lot of people are saying that Putin is relying on China and expecting China to come to his defense in a lot of this. We haven't really seen China necessarily make a move. And I do agree with you. I think if China does make a move, it's going to be with their own will in mind.
Right. Because you got to think about, like with World War II, it wasn't necessarily that Japan and Germany had the same view. Mm-hmm. It's just they saw that they could take care of the things they wanted to take care of if they worked kind of in tandem with each other.
So you mentioned that you think it's time for the U.S. to, kind of flex a little bit based upon, that utter failure of a withdrawal from Afghanistan. What does that look like to you? Obviously, I don't think we're boots on the ground yet, especially, again, and I'm going to bring up this map, especially with them only entering these two areas here, these small areas of land here on the easternmost border. But, I mean,
if I'm not mistaken, we have already sent some resources to the Ukraine, have we not?
We have.
What all was included in those resources? I know we don't have a complete list, but what kind of things? Was it weapons? Was it vehicles? I'm sure there was food and stuff like that. But what military wise did we send over there? Do we know?
I'll be honest. I haven't seen any list as far as what has actually gone over there. I know we deployed some troops, and when I say some troops, I mean I want to throw the
hundreds. Yeah.
It was
hundreds. Nowhere near the thousands that it would take to fight the Russian army.
Now, I'm not ready to say, let's just full bore go fuck them up. But I mean, strategic bombing is not out of the question at this point, is it?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. We have to make a statement that we're there, even if we don't send a lot of troops to man up positions. We definitely need to get some aircraft over there so that we can gain a higher ground, and really start looking at having troops close enough that they can be brought in should they need to be.
Well, and the interesting thing about this, I think we can all agree. And by the way, there was a picture put out earlier. This is in that small area that we were talking about. There you see a Russian militarized vehicle in the streets there. That was taken about, I think that popped up about an hour and a half ago. 32 minutes ago. So that's how quickly this thing is evolving. But 32 minutes ago, we saw these military vehicles coming out. I don't think that, again, even if we're not using our aircraft, we need to be flooding Ukraine with bombs, with ammunition, everything that they're going to need. Because we definitely, the thing that sticks in my craw, we definitely don't need to be telling President Zelensky that should it be necessary, he should go to Lviv, 300 miles away from the capital of Kyiv. That's absolutely ridiculous to me. To me, that's saying, well, we ain't gonna help you. I mean, this is you. We may sanction them, but that's on you. I mean, that's not the strategy I want to see from our president.
Right. We lost a lot of credibility in this kind of a fight when Biden was elected. Bottom line. And Kamala Harris has done nothing to change that image.
Absolutely nothing. She spoke with a mouthful of marbles as far as that goes this week.
We actually watched what she had to say to the Ukrainian officials over there. We were watching the news yesterday. And yes, it's like as she's talking and saying what they're going to do, my wife actually looks at me and says, "What does that even mean?" I mean, she's like, "We will definitely."
Right. I mean, we talk about Biden and his lack of skill to talk. By the way, the European Union Foreign Policy Chief says Russia's illegal actions will not go unpunished. That as of 8 minutes ago. I mean, you're seeing again the world.
And there's things there. I mean, you have areas, and who really knows what those areas are? Apparently, the Ukraine's been saying it's part of the Ukraine. Putin is saying they're still part of, or they're independent nations. But Putin is saying these people are inviting us in.
He is.
So can you really say they're invading if everybody's saying, no, we're letting them come in?
That's the question. In those two areas, I do believe that, they're pro-Putin, whatever. I still think it's an issue, but those two areas, okay. But here's the thing. We all know that Vladimir Putin, he's been on record as saying he wants to go back to the glory days. He wants to, rebuild basically the Soviet Union. Who's to say he's going to stop at the original Soviet Union, though? If you're in Europe, I'm sorry, your sphincter is tightening right now because, it's dangerous. You're talking about being right on the precipice of potentially doing exactly what the USSR wanted to originally do, which was take over the world. This is a move that's not only pulling a punk card, this is Putin also testing to see what he can get away with and how much force he can expect. Again, think of it like a chessboard. Putin is playing chess right now, and right now the Americans and the rest of NATO, to be honest with you, and the UN is not answering. The fact that we hear that the UN is, we hear the UN Security Council is going to meet soon, but we haven't heard anything.
Why are they dragging their heels?
The lack of any awareness, like earlier tonight, President Biden's administration came out and said, well, we're not going to have an announcement tonight of what we're going to do. What? I don't care if you need to sleep. You're the damn president of the United States. You need to be up and you need to be following this. This shit needs to be immediate. If you're not,
definitely definitely need to be talking with them over there to find out what we can be doing to help.
If you're not going to put boots on the ground and you're going to continue along this line of sanctioning Russia, which, mind you, not only did Putin say he doesn't give any fucks about these sanctions, the actual and I forget what his title was, but one of the officials of the Russian government literally said, quote, "We don't give a shit about those sanctions." Why are we still talking sanctions at this point? Me and you are not the smartest individuals in this country, but for weeks we've been saying that this was going to happen and that the only thing President Putin understands is violence. And that is the only thing that that's going to catch his attention.
All they keep looking at is sanctioning and driving costs. And that was another one when Kamala Harris said that they are going to increase the cost for Russia. That was what my wife asked. What does that even mean? How do you enforce that? That is nothing that is a real threat.
Absolutely agree. You know who's really going to get hurt by all of this? The United States people. If inflation isn't bad enough, ladies and gentlemen, let me just give you a little insight as to what the next few months are going to look like should this continue. $4 to $5 gasoline prices on average. Russia has a large supply of what it takes as far as fuels and what have you to make our country run. So you're looking $4 to $5 gasoline prices. You're looking at a lot of things. I don't regret my.
A lot of people don't realize how much. A lot of people don't realize how much the petroleum goes into the plastics. So you're looking at anything made of plastic going sky high.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The economy is about to just die. They want to talk about what they're going to do to Russia and these sanctions and all of this. But the economy is about to tank. No joke, the economy is about to die, dead because of this. We're looking at a large scale problem. Should this continue domestically, not just in foreign policy, but domestically, the citizens of the U.S. are the only ones that are, well, besides, of course, the Ukrainians, who my thoughts and prayers obviously go.
Well, this is going to be a worldwide issue. This isn't just going to be in the United States, but for the people that think, oh, this is over there, you're wrong. This will directly affect what's going on in the United States.
It's absolutely asinine what's going on, and I want to bring back one of our old hosts from the American Idiots right now, Mr. Brad. Brad, how are you doing today? Oh, he dropped. Okay.
Doing that great.
Gotta love live television. But no, I
But
mean, you're right.
this whole thing, I mean, whether people want to like it or not, you're looking at World War III starting to form right here.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Okay, take two on Brad. Brad, can you hear us? Oh, he muted himself. Oh, there he is.
Trying to touch yourself. What?
I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Well, you know what? Doesn't matter.
Well, that's what the world is doing right now, Brad, trying to figure out what is going on.
We're all trying to figure out what's going on.
I've got hairy legs, and I don't know. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Something about hairy legs. That I needed that laugh, but legitimately, this is a worldwide issue. Like you said, this is the start of World War III because this is a domino effect. It's going to start with Russia and Putin, making these moves, and then it's going to continue to extend out. China's next. I guarantee you North Korea is watching this very fucking closely. They've been waiting for a reason to, start some shit. I mean, again, North Korea is going to be...
Not sure. They haven't even been waiting. Like I said, they have made it known that they have missiles aimed at the United States mainland. They have made it known that they have fired in our direction. So they're not even waiting.
And see, here's the thing that's scary to me. So, yes, I made this decision, and I'm going to say again, I did vote for President Biden in the last election. And yes, I do believe that the country as domestically is in a better spot because of it, short of the economy. However, at what cost? That's what we're all having to ask ourselves.
How can you say that we're at a better place domestically? Honestly.
I believe if we would have continued down the same path, we would have still been where we were, not last June, but, the June, July before the presidential election with all the riots and what have you. So that's what I mean by domestically, we're in a better spot. But again, at what cost? We want to save America and we want all these people to have all these great things. And I say we because I'm included in that. We want all of these things. We want a great America. What if there isn't an America? I mean, you've got to honestly look at that. At what cost did we remove somebody that we knew while he's an asshole? He's not going to fuck around with this shit.
Right. And that is one of the things that really cracks me up. Everybody was worried that him having the launch codes to nuclear weapons was going to start World War III. This guy that y'all have put into office is the one who is allowing World War III to really start ramping up.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. I've looked back over the past week watching this, seeing how everything's going, seeing how these things are developing over the past week. And the thing I've looked at is I've been like, okay, what would have happened if Donald Trump was still in office? And I guarantee you by this point, there would have been some boots and asses, especially today. There wouldn't have even been a conversation. Like, there would have been bombers on the damn way the second he made that little proclamation on Russian television. I'm not the person to say that would have been the wrong move. Because at this point, what we're looking at again is almost, listening to how they were pulling our people out of the Ukraine quickly. I was like, good Lord, is this a rerun from 6 months ago in Afghanistan?
Right.
It's the same nightmare that we're living over and over again. And, we've made our bed and we're going to have to lay in it for at least another 2 years. That's just the way it is. But here's the thing. Again, you have to weigh both sides of this. If you want to have a great America where everybody is treated equally, you have to have an America. You have to have this great beacon. Like, we have to be number one. We've got to set the standard for everybody around the world, whether we like it or not. That's the position we've been thrust into. Without a President Trump, this has just gone as disastrously as possible.
The problem is everybody is suddenly commune minded. They think everybody can get along. Everybody should be doing all these things to further everybody. We need to include everybody. It doesn't matter where you're at. Everybody come in. And that is not the case, because a lot of the people don't care about us, don't want us around, and would love to take over the land that we have.
We got a couple comments here. Raven says, throughout history, war has followed pandemics. And Aaron says, preach it, Michael. I mean, it's the way I feel.
Of course you'd put that up there, Michael.
It's the way I feel. Shut up. It's the way I feel at this point,
of course
though.
they would.
This could not be any worse of a situation. I mean, Brad, I know you're not a war guy, but at this point, strategic bombing needs to be on the table. Like, this sanctions bullshit, they've literally laughed at that over the past 48 hours, saying we don't give a damn about those sanctions.
I've literally laughed the last, year and a half. A lot of people aren't going to want to hear this, and Antonio might agree with me, but the problem, the reason we're in this situation that we're in now, and we hadn't been in the last 4 years, and I was listening to Fox News on the satellite radio, one of the Sunday shows, is because this president that we have now is all talk, and what we need to do is show strength. We need to show strength. I mean, if you go back and you look in 2016 when Trump took office, he imposed sanctions. He started talking about the Nord Stream 2. This president here, it's like, I don't want to, he'll talk a big game, but he doesn't show strength. And so now Putin's doing what anybody else would do. If you're not going to show me strength, then I'm going to start pushing the boundaries and the limits to see when you're going to do something. And unfortunately, when you're playing with the type of games that we're playing with now, there could be a lot of casualty. There could be a lot of destruction. And you're also giving your enemy the opportunity to gain and garner strength that you could have cut off at the beginning. So this presidency has been marred with more of social reform and creating, power struggles and power gains through a pandemic. I'm not taking anything lightly away from COVID. I understand there's families that have been affected by this horrible disease, whether it was man-made or however it got out, whatever. I'm not here to argue the semantics of that, but what I'm here to say is that it's been way too politicized by the Democrats and the liberals now. And now they're like trying to figure out a way, because if you look, California has all these imposed restrictions. You look at the numbers between California and Florida, they're not that far apart. The truth is starting to come out, and just like the Russian and Ukraine thing, we need a president. We need a country that's going to stand up and actually show strength, not talk about it.
I completely agree with you, Brad. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You could have stopped it. We need a president. At this point, we don't have a president. The freaking Secretary of State 3 minutes ago says that the U.S. has ordered their diplomatic personnel to leave the Ukraine for the night. Our personnel will regularly return to continue their diplomatic work in Ukraine and provide emergency consular services. Literally, here's where we are. We're 6 months ago. We are abandoning the people of Ukraine. Ukraine's president came on the Ukrainian television and said, basically, I'm expecting you guys to back me up here. And what are we doing? We're saying,
the Hispanic Hispanic would probably agree with me. What we're seeing right now is Obama 3. This is the third term of Obama. You instantly take office. You take all this stuff away from the Ukraine, then you start giving money over to the Russians. What do you expect? That Trump knew what any president with a mind that is actually working knows that the Russians have always been enemy number one. You know, we just found a way to kind of tolerate them to an extent and create peace through our shows of strength. But this guy here, give me a break. I mean,
And I don't know if you feel the same way that I was talking earlier, Brad. I really think that once Putin saw what happened in Afghanistan, he said, "Oh, this is going to be an easy."
Exactly. I mean, you know, I go back. I'm 43 years old. I have an opinion that a lot of people don't care for, but my thing is, I'm really trying, and I'm pulling a Biden here. I'm stumbling over my words because I'm just so amazed at how stupid this is. But I don't recall in the history of any wars or conflicts that I've been a part of as far as living on this earth, and it's what Iraqi freedom, Desert Storm, and a few maybe smaller conflicts. But are you kidding me? We left our equipment and our technology over there. Usually we either destroy it or we do something. I mean, we half-assed destroyed it, but still, we just like bolted out like nothing was. I don't understand it, Anton. I do not understand it, and I haven't. And I'm probably never will.
I'm going to give you one better. Today, the State Department came out and said that we had 100 very lightly vetted Afghan refugees come into this country who have been linked to terrorism, and now they've lost them. So we've got 100 Afghan refugees in this country now because they were so determined to leave by a deadline that we now do not know where these 100 people are. What was the last 20 years for?
And they wonder why we have spoken so harsh about the borders and the border situation.
Absolutely.
And you know, the misconception is this. I mean, I've always said that had Trump led by policy and not talking, it would have been a lot better. I wish he would have shut up half the time and just did what he needed to do. But the border, if you say something about the border, then you're looked upon as a racist or some kind of whatever. And it's not anything about that. I have no problem with anybody wanting to come over to this country. In the shape it's in now, I'd probably be telling them to go somewhere else. But still, it's one of those situations where, you know, I find it hard. It really just baffles me that they talk about, well, they're illegal aliens. And I'm like, did you not just hear what you said? They're illegal aliens, but we're talking about them like it's okay. I mean, there's processes that they can gain citizenship. Nobody's denying that. But what we're not trying to do is foster this environment of this great rush to get over here, and to where now it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. I mean, go to any other country and just cross the border and tell them you want to live there and see what happens. It's only happens here in America, to my knowledge.
It's not even the citizenship that I look at. There's a proper way to get visas. There's a proper way to get work visas. There's a proper way to come over for asylum. It isn't even about becoming a citizen of the United States. The problem I have are these people that want to avoid the ports of entry and just come in however they feel they want to do it. That's the problem I have.
Well, no, definitely. Oh, I definitely agree. And, you know, there's the criminal element that was so widely criticized when Trump expressed it. But I just got through watching a really good series on Netflix called El Chapo. It was actually interesting, even though it was dramatized to a degree. But you don't think that these guys that spend millions and millions of dollars building tunnels from Tijuana over to an abandoned home on the outskirts of the border aren't utilizing the fact that we're letting 100,000 people just flow through unregulated, unchecked? Give me a break. If you tell me, anybody tells me, well, no, that won't happen, I'm going to call you an idiot right then and there, because if I'm doing stuff like that and I have this horde of people that's coming across, what's the best way to sneak them through? Put them as the refugees looking for asylum. And then the dumbass bitch, excuse my language, AOC and all the other ones that probably haven't seen the border except on Call of Duty will tell you, well, you're wrong. Well, kiss my ass.
Hey, I agree. I agree 100%. And that's what's created this, you know, I used to kind of laugh when people said we've created this soft culture. But what this soft culture has created is a soft administration, which has now led to what we are, like Manny said earlier, we're on the precipice of World War III. And what's crazy about this and mind blowing about this to me is, I want to know how the U.S. was reacting to it when we got into the first two world wars, slightly before they actually occurred, because I'm pretty sure it was wall to wall coverage of that. Today we get COVID on the news. Like, what the fuck does COVID matter at this point?
I think, COVID's the ticket, and you're probably going to see a surge in resurgency in the COVID. I mean, you look at COVID, like I said, if anybody's lost anybody because of the disease, my heart goes with you. But to me, COVID was a way to get more votes out there that were unregulated, unchecked. It was a way to pass these ballots. Well, you can't group mass congregate. Well, we can mail you a ballot, but we're not going to check the signature or anything. Just click whatever box you want. We'll call it good. So it was politicized. But, the big thing, too, is probably a difference in the availability of information. Social media is the absolute worst thing that has ever happened to this country. It's the greatest and the worst. It's allowed shows like this to be broadcast without, any kind of corporate redaction or whatever, but it's also allowed for weak-minded individuals just to hear whatever they want to hear and then go, well, you know what, that's the truth. They said it on Facebook. By God, that's the truth. And it's absolute farce what's going on. I mean, Manny can go, hey, I just signed a peace treaty with NATO. And if he validates any of that with anything that sounds factual, holy shit, people are going to believe it, because that's just how narrow-minded and weak-minded people are. This woke culture is crap. I mean, let's see what is this administration done in the last 2.5 years? They've created people that don't want to work. I mean, it's just stupid.
I'm not going to say it's the woke culture. It is people that are unwilling to look at things for themselves. They see something that happens to pass by as they're scrolling on their Facebook page, and they take it as pure gospel.
I would agree.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the only reason I use the woke culture reference is because it seems like nowadays, if you have any position of prominence within media or business, and you don't say something that somebody likes, then we have this thing called cancel culture, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that need to be canceled, and it could be Republicans, it could be liberals, it could be anybody. But if you're out there spewing hatred, and it's not, and it has to be true hatred, not perceived hatred, then by all means, cancel your ass. We don't need Hitler out here, spreading BS because his perfect society that he envisioned. I'm not saying that, but I mean, I just look at this and I go, holy crap, what have we done? We've fostered an environment now where nobody wants to go back to work. Everybody, anytime something happens, certain cards get played, and it's like you can't say nothing anymore. You can't do anything unless you go along with the robotic system that this administration has created.
I mean, Brad.
Right. Me saying that Kamala Harris is stupid is not me being racist. It is not me being sexist. It is me hearing the things that she says, the way she says it, and understanding that she does not have clue one as to what she's supposed to be doing.
Absolutely agree. I mean, Brad, I said this earlier, the 85, 87, however many million people that voted for President Biden. Yes, we haven't deteriorated the culture or the race relations in this country any further over the past 2 years. But here's my thing. At what cost? That's what you have to ask yourself tonight. At what cost? You can't create this great America without there being an America. And right now, America is being stripped of any sort. This is what we've been looking at. This is what Republicans have been yelling about for the past decade is we are weakening our the way people view us across the world by
Well,
allowing.
I tell
these
you
things
what,
to happen.
I tell you this, and I don't know, Antonio, if you saw it or not anywhere, if you followed any kind of news, you'd have to probably watch a couple of particular channels that aren't popular to actually see it. But there was a governor, I forget where he was at. It was just a couple of days ago that lifted the mandates on some of this on this COVID protocol. And his exact quote, it's YouTubeable, I believe. His exact quote was, "You've earned your freedom." No, asshole. I haven't earned my freedom. My freedom's always been there, buddy. You know,
The Constitution gave us our freedoms back the 4th of July. What, 17? What?
1776.
Yeah.
You tell me I've earned my freedom. Like, you know, look, okay, if I'm locked up and you give me a free Snicker bar out of commissary because of good behavior, okay, I earned that, right? But I haven't earned my freedom. My freedom never went anywhere. You know, you guys, not you guys, but this administration and Dr. Fakey or whatever you want to call him, has just gone on and on and on. And I mean, I tell you, I won't be here 60, 70 years from now, but holy crap, I would, if the world is still here, I so want to just see the history books and what is written in them at this point. I mean, I don't know. I just, it blows my mind. But like I was going to tell you guys, if I'm not going to leave the stream, but if I'm not here when you ask, I'm actually at work right now because of the environment created by people not wanting to work. So if I have to go do something, I'm definitely not going anywhere, but I will be back. But I haven't gotten anything yet, so we're still good.
You know, the interesting thing, and we keep going back to this, is what China is going to do. China Saturday, the foreign minister, Wang Yi, says sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of all countries should be respected and safeguarded. So it's interesting to see, is Russia really being supported by China right now? China is going to play this very, and Aaron says the Connecticut governor was the one who said that. China is going to play this very interestingly. Is this enough to make China move? Or is China going to wait and play this out and see how quickly the U.S. jumps on it too?
I wholeheartedly believe they're waiting to see what the U.S. does before they make their move.
I agree with that.
Crazy position. It's crazy to think that that's where we are now, that we have not one, not two, but three potential heavy hitters. Okay, 2.25 of a heavy hitter in North Korea. But, you know.
Well,
say what you want to say, man. They have already fired missiles in our direction. So if you don't want to see that as a heavy hitter, I don't know what you're waiting for, Mike.
I was going to say, Antonio, North Korea is only showing you what they want to show you. Right. And it speaks volumes to the former administration that we was actually able to squelch that over there. But I'm telling you right now, the United States does not want a conflict with China, Russia, and North Korea. I understand we are a great country. We have a great military operation, but the casualty that would be incurred by going up against the mega million army over in China would not be nice. China, I mean, our technology comes from them for the most part. You don't think that Rocket Man over there, as he's been called before, isn't sitting on some stuff that we haven't seen before? And then Kim Jong, whatever the hell his name is, isn't doing something? Like Antonio said, they're dropping rockets like Steph Curry drops 3-point shots, man.
Right, but rockets we can see coming. So we have the opportunity to shoot those down, target those as best we can. I don't see us. Do what?
Hold on real quick, Manny. The Ukrainian foreign minister just released a statement saying that further Russian actions rely on how the world reacts. How is everybody seeing this but us? This administration. Basically, he's telling them the same thing we've been yelling about for 50 minutes now. We need to react. Us sitting here on our hands at this point is doing nothing. these sanctions are doing nothing. They're actually hurting the Ukrainians at this point. The ones that are actually in place now are actually hurting the Ukrainians more than the Russians. And then they're going to come about and hurt the rest of the world more than it'll ever affect Russia. Russia doesn't give a fuck about our sanctions. We need to go over there. And I'm sorry. I know everybody's like, we just got out of a war. We don't need another. Strategically bomb the shit out of those two areas and let them know that we are not to be fucked with.
Well,
if it was just Russia, I would say, yeah, you can let it fester for a little bit longer. But like we're all in agreement, there are other players that are waiting to see how we handle this. So because of that, you are correct. We need to do something.
And I don't know if you guys would agree with me or not, but I don't think that the White House doesn't know what's going on. I just think that there's vested interest in the wrong situations. I mean, you look at even going back to other presidencies, not even the one that nobody cares about this last term, or a lot of people don't care about, excuse me, is that it's really, and honestly, it's how anybody should be. You need to be proactive, rather than being reactive. I mean, you're looking at you're looking at a country that is now we were at getting to that point where we weren't dependent on foreign oil as much as we had been. I mean, there is a super batch of natural gas sitting in the Appalachian Mountains that we can't get to. And what does the president do the first day he's here? He sends a clear and convincing message. God, I hate that term. He sends a clear message the first day he's in office. What does he do? He says, "Hey,
shuts down the pipeline."
Yes. But then he goes and doesn't cut the Russian pipeline off. But we're so consumed with this Green New Deal and cows passing gas that we don't care anymore. That's where we're at.
Well, and Brian,
it's a comedy skit, guys. You can't make Dave Chappelle couldn't make this shit up.
You said this earlier. You said this is Obama 3. Here's my thing. I said I compare it to what Trump would have done over the past, 48 hours. Honestly, I'm not here to say that Obama wouldn't have been already have made the call to send bombers over. I think Obama would have at this point. I think that this guy that is currently occupying the White House is weaker than Obama.
Well, Obama had the ability to have an intelligent thought process. He was younger. I'm seriously, this is crazy. I mean, I listened to Joe Biden speak, and unfortunately, because they play his clips on certain radio shows, but he can't formulate a sentence. He gets tripped up. He's so handled and coddled by his press secretary, Jen Psaki, who could kiss my ass. And they don't allow him a lot of one-on-one time with the media. And then when somebody presses him on an issue, he's caught on a hot mic calling them stupid and everything else. If you look at his actions and what he's done compared to the president before him and how crucified he was on the media, I mean, to see what's going on in this country, you look at what they've uncovered in the Adam Schiff series. The Spygate series, that they've uncovered all this information, but yet we spent 2 years hunting down Russian collusion that we couldn't find shit for. And the media hammered. But now we've buried this whole congressional hearing that's going on right now because it doesn't involve the players that they want it to involve. And it's crazy. It's asinine. And I'm not fearful of war, but I don't want to see us put in a situation where we lower our living conditions and anything like that. I mean, inflation is absolutely insane right now. And how some of these businesses are striving with what's going on is crazy.
You're not wrong. You mentioned that you watch Biden and you do all of this and you see the way he reacts towards media and what have you. I'm going to be honest with you. In that aspect, has Trump ever left office? because Trump said mean things, but Jesus Christ, you press Biden on something and he gets pissed off and starts saying some stupid shit. Like, as far as the whole mean tweet, the only thing that Joe Biden isn't doing is tweeting, probably because he doesn't know how to operate Twitter at his advanced age. But the fact remains that Joe really doesn't have a filter himself. Joe
I agree.
chooses to act stupid and say stupid shit.
Right.
And send a vice president over to a country that is fixing to. Could you imagine George W. Bush sending Dick Cheney to Afghanistan before 9/11 to talk with Osama bin Laden about the shit right before it went down on September, we'll say 9th? Could you imagine that? Knowing what would, if he had the foreknowledge to know what was going to happen in 2 days. But mind you, Joe Biden says on Friday that he believes that Vladimir Putin is determined, quote, determined to invade the Ukraine. But he sends Kamala Harris. What message, number one, if I'm Vladimir Putin, that pisses me off just on principle alone. Oh, you don't have the time for me, huh? Okay.
And that doesn't piss Kamala Harris off either, does it?
He's put her in positions that just are terrible. But mind you, like, all of this is just insane, the way this is going and the way this has went down. You couldn't script a better political comedy movie than what's happened over the past 72 hours. And the handling of this Russia situation.
Right. And it's at a time when our military is kind of pushed down. I mean, we just left whatchamacallit, Afghanistan. We just left Afghanistan. So you really don't want to send more people out, but you kind of have to. You know, we went through a whole lot of budget cuts for the military under Obama. I'm not sure exactly how much of that was brought back with Trump.
Absolutely.
And while I haven't heard of a lot being cut under Biden, that doesn't mean that it hasn't happened.
I tell you, this is if this isn't the biggest wake-up call for us as Americans, number one, let's just get to November. Like, that's the scary part at this point, is I'm like, let's just get to November. If we can get to November, maybe we can fix some of this shit. That's scary. November is only 9 months away. But I'm asking, can we please at least just get to November?
Well, hey, Michael, I'm sorry I had to leave for a second. I didn't catch what y'all were saying. But now, interestingly enough, you're talking about November. And if you're the Democratic Party, you're going to be scrambling right now. And I don't know if you noticed, but if you go take a look at what happened in San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi controlled territory, the huge Democratic stronghold over there. They have, however, voted and recalled 3 of the school board members over there that were strongly opposing going back to school. And I think that's where the Republicans are going to have to be in November, is they're going to have to not get in front of the voters, but they're going to have to get behind the voters and say, hey, look, enough is enough. Our kids are suffering. Our education is suffering even more than it has in the past. And it's indicative of what's going on. You look at down in South Texas, that blue swath that used to be down there, that's now starting to show a little bit more Republican control. We got what, Antonio? We've got 9 days now till the congressional primary or whatever down there, and it's starting to look like the wave is coming. I mean, you look at. I go back to this election. I don't want to talk about any conspiratorial things, and I'm a big conspiracy guy, but I don't want to talk about any conspiratorial stuff. But you look at the election last year and how Joe Biden was able to win the presidency by 10 or 15 million votes, whatever it ended up being. But yet the House and the Senate actually lost seats to the Republicans. That's unprecedented and speaks volumes. I think when November comes around, the American citizens are sick and tired of the social agenda that is being pushed out there by the administration. To me, I mean, you may see it different, Antonio, but I think America's tired of being masked up. I think they're tired of being stranded in their homes. And I think that America's tired of being told everything you do and say that someone doesn't disagree with, you're a racist or a bigot. I think it's coming back.
I would agree with that as far as the American people being tired of that stuff. But the problem we're going to look at is who are they going to put next in line? That's really going to be what decides whether this stays a blue wave or if it actually turns into a red wave.
I mean, we're sitting here talking about, a blue and a red wave and what Democrats are needing to do to prevent its wild swing come November. But let's be honest, if you're Nancy Pelosi, if you're a Republican, or if you're a Democratic member of Congress right now, you are begging Joe to do something. Like, they have got to be knocking on the damn White House door saying, yo, my neck's on the line. You better fix this shit, because some of these Democrats are elected in traditional Republican strongholds. And even though, they were just right-leaning enough to get elected in those traditional Republican strongholds, Republican voters still like a little bit of security. And our security went out the window today. That's the way I see it. Like,
that's pretty much the bottom line.
Unless something amazing happens over the next 9 months, this is what will decide November, is how he reacts to this. This is his, let's be honest, short of COVID, and I think we've all agreed that COVID's kind of played its way down the cards a little bit, or should have. Democrats still play it like it's the number one issue facing America today. Short of COVID, this is the first crisis that the president has had to deal with in his presidency.
Border.
Well, true, the border as well. But again, they think of even less of that than we do COVID.
They were able to bury that under COVID.
Yeah, exactly. They're not going to be able to bury this. This isn't going away. Especially if it plays out the way we're talking about it. I think we all three agree it's going to play out where China's just waiting.
Oh,
China's sitting back saying,
China's waiting and Korea's waiting.
Exactly. Raven says, apparently most people can't look past politics and see that your Democrats and Republicans are the same entity. They both want you to squabble over politics and not see the whole picture. I would agree with that statement even. In a lot of cases, Republicans are fucking us just as bad as the Democrats. It is absolutely asinine how both sides, you can put this whole Russia thing at the feet of both sides. I'll just blatantly say that. Because if you're Turtlehead out of Kentucky, Mitch McConnell. If you're Mitch McConnell out of Kentucky, what the fuck have you been talking about for the past month and a half if you're not beating down Joe Biden's door? Like,
well, let me tell you something. Let me stop you right there. If Mitch McConnell somehow finds his way back into anything political, then we've got a problem. I am so sick of these rhinos out here that are, they didn't take a stand against their president at the time who was in their party. I understand that he did attack him, but Mitch McConnell hurt the Republican cause more than he advanced it in the last 2.5 years. And that may just be me, but I'm done with him. I am done with him. I mean, seriously, like French Hill, Tom Cotton, all of them can kiss my ass. I'm done.
Yeah, we've talked before, Brad, that there are a lot of old-minded thinking Republicans and Democrats who really need to be taken out of the decision-making process.
Absolutely.
I agree. You know, honestly though, and you know, I don't know where I stood on Mike Huckabee as far as when he was governor, but I tell you right now, I am absolutely in agreement that there should be term limits on both Congress and the Senate. I do not think
Yeah.
that you should be in the Congress and Senate for 40 plus years, because your
Yeah.
ideology doesn't change. It stays the same. And the example that I go by is Donald Trump knew what he was doing right before the election when he promised the $2,000. He basically had that idea. And then what did the Democratic Party do in the special runoff election for Warnoff and what's his name? They used that. They said, you know what, you're going to get your money if you elect these people because you got these people. McConnell should have never blocked that, because did he stop getting paid during the pandemic? Absolutely not. And he made a ton of money. They all do. That's what I don't understand. Congress and the Senate can go in there and it's $50,000 a year, and somehow they end up with 14, 15 million in the bank. And then you got and another thing regulatory needs to happen is, I think if you're in Congress and you're in the Senate, you should be able to forego any rights to owning stock or investments, because your decisions are what drives the market one way or the other. I mean, there's so much. I mean, honestly, I just watched that documentary on the cartel, and and if I'd have closed my eyes, I would have thought I was watching our government in operation.
Yeah, I definitely think that all of your business entities to be taken out of any kind of influence of government. There should be no lobbyists. There should be no corporate stuff that can affect the government. Otherwise, you're looking at bribery. You're looking at all kinds of things that is not in the best interest of the American people, but in the best interest of business.
One thing I will completely give him credit for, Donald Trump, the best thing that man did, or the smartest thing that man did, his first day in office, he relinquished all of his interests in his businesses temporarily. I'm assuming he's gotten them back, but temporarily relinquished his businesses when he took office as president of the United States. That's a stand-up move. Again, a lot of people don't like to give him credit for what he did right. But that was a stand-up move for him, something that not necessarily he had to do. You know, I think even Dick Cheney had his business interests when he was the vice president of the United States. One of Brad's favorite conspiracy theories is on 9/11. I'm pretty sure Dick Cheney didn't give up any of his.
Public service announcement: do not go hunting with Dick Cheney. Just saying.
Unless you expect to have an apology.
No, the conspiracy there is that we went into war, and who got the contract to rebuild the city and rebuild the country? The same company that Dick Cheney owned. Yeah. To me, it's simple. In politics and any kind of corruption, if you follow the money, you're going to find the source of the smell. That's just the bottom line. And I'm not saying that we're.
Very true, though. I mean, Brad makes a very good point there. You know, Dick Cheney, Halliburton, that's who he owned.
Halliburton, yeah.
Get the contract to rebuild Iraq, whereas, you know, everybody else was kind of fucked. Donald Trump didn't do that. So I will give him absolute credit on that. Donald Trump relinquished all of his business assets to become president of the United States. Here's as we get ready to wrap up, because I'm pretty much spent for the night yelling about Joe Biden. But I do want to ask you this. At this point, does the weak-minded squad and House of Representatives that is, you know, you've got your Democrats in there, and then obviously the Democratic-controlled Senate, if push comes to shove, does that congressional body vote to allow us into this conflict? I'm not so sure they do.
Um,
I'm
yeah,
not so sure they do.
but you have a lot of bleeding hearts there that want to reach out to help anybody, but at the same time, they're so anti-war minded that they don't want to make that move. So it really is a coin flip as to whether or not they're going to allow us to declare war.
I can almost guarantee you that any member of the squad, especially AOC, that's going to be a guaranteed no. I don't think that, and she's one of those that, like I said, we need to get rid of, because she's one of those line in the sand. You won't cross it. I don't care whether it's for the greater good of everybody. I'm just out for advancing my own agenda type of people that we need to get out of Congress. I just don't know if we would have the votes to actually do something. President Biden may come to them and say, hey, this is where we are. We kind of have to do something about this. I don't think that's enough anymore. People talk about the presidency and people talk about the power it wields. And used to, you talk about LBJ. LBJ would use his massive frame and the office, obviously, to intimidate people. I don't think the presidency holds that anymore for these, congressional members, especially not when you get to the AOCs and the Nancys and these celebrity congressional members. I don't know that Biden could get somebody in the White House and force them to vote his way. I'm not so sure that they would vote for him to go to war. He may have to pull a G-dub and, circumvent the system. Brad?
I don't know. I mean, I would find hard pressed that the squad or any of these newer congressional people would want to go to war. Because I don't honestly, and I'm seriously of the mindset that I don't think that AOC fully comprehends exactly what's going on.
I don't think she does either.
To me, she's so focused on this new racism thing that's going around and this green. They're more worried about putting electric cars out there than they are about what's actually going on in the world. And that's, to me, it just speaks volumes. It's like Winston Churchill said years ago. He said, if you're not a Democrat in your 20s and 30s, then you have no heart. If you're not a conservative by the time you're 40, then you got no brain. And I'm all for equality. I'm all for rights. But what I'm not for, and the thing, and I say this, is I'm not for the rights of some at the expense of others. That's not true equality. That's just strong arming your lifestyle, your opinion, your whatever on me because you don't feel it's right. There's ways to go about it. And I think that's all they're concerned about. I don't think she has a clue what's going on in an international policy. I don't. And that's the crazy part, is I'm not even sure Joe Biden does. Kamala Harris is not taking anything away from Kamala Harris, but Kamala Harris was put as the vice president for one thing only, and you can say what you want to about me and how I believe in that, but that's what the token vote basically for what Kamala Harris was put out there for, and that's why you saw the Supreme Court when the gentleman stepped down. I mean, it was to me that was such a slap in the face that wasn't based on qualification, but it was, well, we've got to get a black woman as on the Supreme Court. To me, that's a more racist statement than anything else.
And it was the same with vice presidency.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely agree. Brad,
I think, can ask you real quick, and this is just, I haven't been on here in a while, but if there's anybody listening that's an African American tonight, to me, if you told me, well, we've got to get a black woman on the Supreme Court, or we've got to get a black woman as our vice president, and you can't tell me why, what her qualifications are, all you can tell me is because I have a black person on there. To me, you're demeaning me as an African American person or a black person, and you're just trying to pacify me. I'm not. If Kamala Harris was qualified, more than happy for you. The lady that they're appointing for the Supreme Court or whatever, more than happy if she's qualified. But if it's based on skin color alone, that is a slap in the face to me as a human being and a person, because I'm not a racist person. I'm not. But I don't know, man.
I can completely agree. Brad, real quick before me and Manny do our American Idiot of the Week and get out of here, I do want to ask you this. You know, I can't wrap my mind around the decision making of Joe Biden to send Kamala Harris rather than himself to Minsk 48 hours before this, you know, what the events that unfurled today. Could you imagine any other president, and that includes Barack Obama? I don't think he would have sent Joe Biden, giving up, number one, that power, and number two, just like disrespecting Vladimir Putin when Vladimir's already got his hand on the button. Like, just so many things wrong with that without even getting into the fact that she made a fool of herself. Brad, can you imagine any other president doing that?
No, because it's honestly, I don't think that Joe Biden makes the calls anymore. I really don't. I don't think they want him over there. Honestly, I really don't. I don't think they want Joe Biden over there because, you know, he would say something that either A, nobody would ever understand, or B, it would be so off subject or off topic that it wouldn't matter.
Come on, man.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, we're talking about a president that in his campaign speech talked about his hairy legs. That's all I need to know. And y'all were going to do the American Idiot of the Week. Well, I know I'm not a part of that segment, but my American Idiot of the Week every day from here on out would be Joe Biden, an idiot. And anybody that literally supported him on the aspects of his total achievements. I understand that, you know, a lot of people voted on him because they found the key to winning. They found a key to winning. That is to make people believe so hardcore that anybody with a conservative mindset hated anybody but themselves and their own type of individual, and that we were all racist, that they found the key to victory. But the president of the United States has to be good both on our soil and on the other side of our soil. And Joe Biden is not the answer. And hopefully we can wake up to a better reality in November, because if we don't, we're screwed.
Like I said, the first time in my life, I'm like, can we just make it to November? Can we just, like, that's how desperate I'm feeling with this, especially after today. Can America sustain to November? Did you ever think that you'd hear anybody have to ask that question? I mean, obviously, America's going to sustain, but at what cost? Where are we going to be in 9 months?
Right.
I can say this, and then I'm going to jump off here.
Right on.
The only way to right the ship, the only way that we can reverse the story that happened in 1912 and actually not split the Titanic in half and sink the great ship, is to somehow patch it up after we've hit this iceberg, and that's November. Your vote is so important in November, and it needs to get some of the power and the control away from the ultra liberal conservatives. You know, I never would have imagined that Joe Manchin would be my favorite Democrat now. Never, because there's like, politically speaking, there's three sides. Two of them are predominant. Super ultra old school Republicans that have no clue as to how the world functions today, and then super ultra liberal that progressives that don't know how the world functions. Then you have those moderates in the middle, and people like to say anything. Oh, you can't straddle the fence. Absolutely, you can. Because if you're straddling the fence and you're making decisions based on what your constituents want, you're doing the right thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely agreed. My American Idiot of the Week this week is going to be Kamala Harris for accepting the gig to go over to Minsk. Kamala should have been smart enough to have been like, Joe, this is a you thing. This is above my pay grade. I'm going to need you to go take care of this. The American people need you to go take care of this. We need you to look strong. And hell, if you have to, slap the shit out of Vladimir Putin. But, you know. Manny?
I'm actually going to bring you two, man, because last week I had a wonderful one. Glenwood Mayor Billy Smith arrested on felony charges of theft of property and abuse of office after he hired a private company to haul $4,000 worth of city-owned asphalt to his home to resurface his driveway.
You're lying.
What the hell?
What the hell?
I mean, seriously? You're going to steal from your own city? Anyways, he said it's felony.
Absolutely.
Felony charge of theft. So, I mean, he pretty much killed his career. This week was, man, today I saw some shade being thrown, at Peppa. Kanye West.
Oh, God.
If you're going to be pissed off that you're going to call out a cartoon pig because their album sold more than yours did, what is wrong with you?
Oh, Lord, that's hilarious.
Seriously. So, yeah. Kanye West for calling out Peppa Pig, trying to start some beef. Is that some pork? Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently Peppa Pig is a hotter album than Kanye West.
Well, I mean, the way Kanye's been acting recently, is that really a surprise? Good Lord.
Right.
Anyway, well, for the Manic Hispanic, Brad and myself, hopefully we'll have
and apparently also for Rich and for Keith and for Tally and for all the other people that decide not to come on anymore.
Hey, there you go. There you go. That's true. That's true. But we will see you guys next week. Hopefully we won't be dubbed over in Russian. Good night, everybody.